Yosemite National Park sits in California's Sierra Nevada mountains, about 270 kilometers or 170 miles east of San Francisco. The park covers roughly 3,100 square kilometers or nearly 1,200 square miles. That makes it larger than some entire countries, yet most visitors only see a tiny fraction of it. The reason is simple. Yosemite's most famous attractions are concentrated inside one relatively small area known as Yosemite Valley. We'll come back to that valley later because it contains some of the most famous landscapes on Earth. But first, it's worth understanding just how large Yosemite really is. The park stretches from elevations of around 600 meters or 2,000 feet above sea level to more than 3,900 meters or nearly 13,000 feet. That's a vertical difference of more than 3 kilometers. Because of that enormous elevation range, Yosemite contains several different climate zones. In the lower elevations, you'll find oak woodlands and dry grasslands. Higher up, you'll find dense pine forests. Higher still are alpine environments that can remain covered in snow for months. Some visitors experience temperatures above 38 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit in summer. Meanwhile, the highest peaks can still be freezing. This variety helps explain why Yosemite supports such a diverse range of wildlife. But it also helps explain something else, why people sometimes disappear here. Every year, millions of people visit Yosemite. Most leave with photographs and memories. A small number never make it home. Yosemite has become well known among search and rescue teams because of the challenges presented by its landscape. The park contains steep cliffs, deep forests, hidden canyons, fast-moving rivers, and remote backcountry areas. In some locations, a person can walk only a short distance from a trail and become extremely difficult to find. Dense tree cover can hide someone from helicopters overhead. Granite walls can block visibility from search teams below. Even modern technology has limitations in terrain like this. Most missing person cases eventually have ordinary explanations. People become lost. People become injured. People underestimate the wilderness. But Yosemite's geography can turn a simple mistake into a serious emergency. The same landscape that attracts millions of visitors every year can also make rescue efforts incredibly difficult. And this isn't a modern problem. People have been navigating Yosemite's mountains and valleys for thousands of years. Long before tourists arrived, indigenous peoples lived throughout the region. For generations, they developed a detailed understanding of the landscape. They knew where water could be found during dry periods. They understood seasonal changes. They traveled routes that connected valleys, rivers, and mountain passes. To them, Yosemite wasn't a destination. It was home. Everything changed during the 19th century. In 1848, gold was discovered in California. The famous gold rush soon brought huge numbers of settlers into the region. As more people explored the Sierra Nevada, Yosemite gradually became known outside the area. Then photographers arrived, and that's when things became really interesting. Many Americans had never seen anything like Yosemite. When photographs of the giant cliffs and waterfalls reached eastern cities, people were astonished. Some landscapes looked almost impossible. The cliffs appeared too steep. The waterfalls looked too tall. The valley seemed unreal. Yet the photographs were genuine. The landscape really was that dramatic. Those images helped transform Yosemite into one of America's most famous natural areas. But none of those cliffs, waterfalls, or valleys would exist without glaciers. Millions of years ago, Yosemite looked very different. The landscape that visitors see today was largely shaped during the ice ages. During colder periods, enormous glaciers formed throughout the Sierra Nevada. Imagine rivers of ice hundreds of meters thick, slowly moving through the mountains. As they advanced, they scraped, crushed, and removed rock. Over thousands of years, the glaciers reshaped entire valleys. One clue can still be seen today. Most river valleys are V-shaped. Yosemite Valley is U-shaped. That's a classic sign of glacial erosion. The glaciers widened the valley and carved its walls into the dramatic shapes seen today. They also helped expose vast amounts of granite. Granite is one of Yosemite's defining features. Many of the park's most famous landmarks are made from it. In fact, some geologists estimate that granite makes up the majority of the exposed rock throughout Yosemite. The granite itself formed deep underground millions of years before the glaciers arrived. Molten rock cooled slowly beneath the Earth's surface. That slow cooling produced the hard granite visible today. Then erosion stripped away the overlying rock. Eventually, the granite became exposed. The glaciers then sculpted it into the landscapes that millions of visitors admire today. And that process created one of the most spectacular wildlife habitats in North America. Today, Yosemite is home to more than 400 species of vertebrate animals. Black bears are among the most famous. Despite their reputation, Yosemite's black bears are usually more interested in food than confrontation. For decades, bears learned that campsites often contained easy meals. Some became remarkably skilled at breaking into vehicles. Over time, park officials introduced bear-proof food storage systems to reduce conflicts. The bears effectively forced humans to redesign the way they stored food. That's how adaptable they became. One thing that surprises many visitors is that Yosemite's bears are black bears, not grizzly bears. In fact, despite the name, black bears aren't always black. Some Yosemite bears are dark black, others are brown. Some even have a cinnamon-colored coat. This often confuses visitors who assume they've seen a grizzly bear, but today, no grizzly bears live anywhere in Yosemite. Ironically, California's state flag features a grizzly bear, yet the animal itself disappeared from California more than a century ago. The California grizzly was actually a population of brown bear, and it was enormous. Large males could weigh more than 450 kilograms, or 1,000 pounds. Some historical accounts described exceptionally large individuals weighing even more. Early explorers, settlers, and hunters frequently encountered them throughout California. Grizzlies once roamed valleys, forests, mountains, and even coastal regions. That included parts of the Sierra Nevada near Yosemite. But as California's human population expanded during the 19th century, grizzly numbers declined rapidly. Habitat loss, hunting, and conflicts with livestock pushed the bears toward extinction. The last confirmed California grizzly was seen in the wild during the early 1920s. Today, the animal survives only in photographs, museum specimens, and on the California state flag. So while Yosemite's black bears remain one of the park's most famous residents, they are not the giant bears that once ruled California's wilderness. Those disappeared long ago, and it's strange to think that if you had visited this region 200 years ago, you might have encountered one of the largest predators in North America. Yosemite is also home to mountain lions. Although sightings are rare, these predators roam large areas of the park. Coyotes hunt throughout the valleys. Bobcats move silently through forests. Mule deer are commonly seen by visitors. Golden eagles soar above cliffs. Peregrine falcons nest on rocky ledges. The park's enormous elevation range creates habitats for all of them. And some of those habitats contain unusual features found nowhere else on Earth. For example, giant sequoias grow in several groves within Yosemite. These are among the largest living organisms on the planet. Some stand more than 90 meters or 300 feet tall. Others are estimated to be over 2,000 years old. That means some of these trees were already ancient when the Roman Empire still existed, which is remarkable when you consider that Yosemite itself is still changing. The cliffs continue to crack. Rivers continue to carve the landscape. Forests continue to grow. Some of the park's most famous landmarks are still evolving today, and some of Yosemite's strangest features are still being shaped today. One surprising fact is that Yosemite is actually rising. The Sierra Nevada mountains are slowly uplifting as geological forces continue to push the region upward. The movement is extremely slow, far too slow for visitors to notice. But over thousands and millions of years, even tiny movements can reshape entire landscapes. Yosemite also experiences hundreds of earthquakes every year. Most are so small that people never feel them. But they serve as a reminder that this landscape is not frozen in time. It's still evolving. Another strange fact is that Yosemite contains some of the largest exposed granite formations on Earth. In some places, the granite visible today originally formed more than 100 million years ago. That means much of the rock surrounding Yosemite was already ancient when dinosaurs still walked the planet. And yet, despite its age, the landscape often feels surprisingly young. That's because the features most people recognize today were shaped relatively recently by glaciers. In geological terms, Yosemite's most famous scenery is actually quite new. The result is one of the most recognizable valleys anywhere in the world. Yosemite Valley stretches roughly 13 kilometers, or 8 miles, from end to end. Its width varies from about 800 meters to 1.6 kilometers, or roughly half a mile to 1 mile. Compared to the overall size of the park, Yosemite Valley is actually quite small. Yet this relatively small area attracts the vast majority of visitors. The reason becomes obvious the moment you enter it. Towering granite walls rise almost vertically from the valley floor. Massive waterfalls plunge from hanging valleys above. Forests cover the lower elevations, and enormous rock formations dominate the skyline. Many first-time visitors describe the experience as overwhelming. Photographs rarely capture the true scale. The valley floor sits at around 1,200 meters, or 4,000 feet above sea level, but the surrounding cliffs rise much higher. In some locations, the vertical difference between the valley floor and the top of the cliffs exceeds 900 meters, or nearly 3,000 feet. That creates one of the greatest concentrations of exposed granite cliffs anywhere on Earth. And none is more famous than El Capitan. El Capitan rises approximately 914 meters, or 3,000 feet above Yosemite Valley. To put that into perspective, it is taller than the Eiffel Tower. In fact, 3 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of one another would still struggle to match its overall height. The cliff is composed almost entirely of granite, a giant block of ancient rock exposed through millions of years of erosion. Standing beneath it can feel almost surreal. People on the summit are invisible to the naked eye. Climbers halfway up often look no larger than tiny dots. The sheer scale makes it difficult for the human brain to process. For decades, many people believed climbing El Capitan was impossible. The cliff appeared too steep, too smooth, too large. Yet climbers eventually proved otherwise. The first successful ascent took 47 days spread over multiple attempts during the late 1950s. Today, experienced climbers regularly scale the wall. Some spend several nights sleeping on portable platforms suspended hundreds of meters above the ground. Others attempt speed climbs. But perhaps the most famous ascent of all occurred in 2017. That was the year Alex Honnold achieved something many experts considered impossible. He climbed El Capitan completely free solo. No ropes, no harness, no safety equipment, nothing. Just a climber and nearly 900 meters or 3,000 feet of vertical granite. One mistake would almost certainly have been fatal. The climb took almost 4 hours. Every movement had to be perfect. Every handhold had to be remembered. Every foothold had to be trusted. The achievement stunned the climbing world. Many people consider it one of the greatest athletic feats ever accomplished. The climb later became famous through the documentary Free Solo, introducing millions of people to Yosemite. Yet even El Capitan is not Yosemite's most recognizable landmark. That title probably belongs to Half Dome. At first glance, Half Dome looks almost impossible. The formation resembles a giant granite dome that has been sliced cleanly in half. The steep face appears so unusual that early visitors struggled to explain how it formed. Some believed a massive geological event had split the mountain apart. Others assumed glaciers had carved directly through it. The reality is even more fascinating. Half Dome wasn't cut in half at all. Instead, millions of years of erosion removed enormous amounts of surrounding rock while leaving the remaining granite standing. The result became one of the most famous mountains in North America. and one of the most photographed features in the entire national park. But like everything else in Yosemite, Half Dome is still changing today. Granite continues to crack. Rainwater seeps into fractures. Winter temperatures freeze that water. Ice expands inside the rock. The fractures grow larger, and eventually gravity takes over. This process helps explain one of Yosemite's most powerful natural forces, rockfalls. Many visitors arrive expecting waterfalls. Few realize they are entering one of the most active rockfall environments in North America. Since records began, thousands of rockfalls have been documented throughout Yosemite. Some involve only a few rocks. Others involve entire sections of cliff. When large rockfalls occur, the sound can echo across the valley like thunder. Dust clouds can rise hundreds of meters into the air. Trees can be flattened instantly, and the landscape itself can change. One of the most dramatic examples occurred in 1996 near Happy Isles. Thousands of tons of granite suddenly broke away from a cliff. The falling rock generated powerful air blasts that damaged large areas of forest. Visitors nearby described hearing what sounded like an explosion. Events like this remind people that Yosemite is not a static landscape. The same geological forces that created the park are still at work today. In fact, some geologists estimate that millions of tons of rock continue to fall from Yosemite's cliffs every century. And while rockfalls can be dangerous, they also help create some of Yosemite's most spectacular scenery, because many of the park's waterfalls exist due to the steep cliffs created by glacial erosion and ongoing geological change. Waterfalls are among Yosemite's biggest attractions, and for good reason. Some of them rank among the tallest in North America. The most famous is Yosemite Falls. Yosemite Falls has a total drop of approximately 739 meters or 2,425 feet. That makes it one of the tallest waterfalls on the continent. The waterfall actually consists of 3 separate sections: Upper Yosemite Fall, the Middle Cascades, and Lower Yosemite Fall. Together, they create a spectacular display during spring. At peak flow, the sound can be heard from great distances. Mist rises from the base, rainbows frequently appear in the spray, and visitors often leave soaked after getting too close. Yet Yosemite Falls contains a surprising twist. During late summer, parts of the waterfall can almost disappear. The flow depends heavily on snowmelt. A dry winter can dramatically reduce the amount of water reaching the falls. A heavy snow year can produce an entirely different scene. This seasonal variation means Yosemite can look very different depending on when you visit. Another famous waterfall is Bridal Fall. Unlike Yosemite Falls, Bridal often continues flowing throughout much of the year. Strong winds frequently blow the falling water sideways. This creates the appearance of a flowing bridal veil, hence the name. And then there's Horsetail Fall. For most of the year, it is simply another waterfall. But for a few days each February, something extraordinary can happen. If weather conditions are perfect and the setting sun aligns correctly, the waterfall glows orange and red. The effect makes it look like molten lava pouring off the cliff. Photographers travel from around the world hoping to witness this phenomenon. Some years the conditions are perfect, other years they are not. Nature decides, and that unpredictability is part of Yosemite's appeal. Another reason millions of people visit is simply to experience the scale of the place for themselves. Today, Yosemite attracts around 4 million visitors in a typical year. That makes it one of the most visited national parks in the United States. People arrive from all over the world. Some come to hike, some come to climb, others come to photograph the landscape. And many simply want to see famous landmarks they have viewed in books, films, and documentaries. Photography has always played an important role in Yosemite's popularity. Long before social media existed, photographs helped introduce Yosemite to the world. Images of giant cliffs and towering waterfalls convinced many Americans that places like Yosemite deserved protection. In some ways, photography helped save the park. Today, that tradition continues. Sunrise at Tunnel View remains one of the most photographed scenes in North America. From a single viewpoint, visitors can see El Capitan, Half Dome, and Bridal Veil fall all in one panorama. It's one of the few places where multiple world-famous landmarks appear in the same view. Tourism also supports nearby communities. Hotels, restaurants, guides, and outdoor recreation businesses all benefit from the millions of visitors who pass through the region each year. But popularity brings challenges. Traffic can become heavy during peak season. Parking can be difficult to find, and managing millions of visitors while protecting a fragile ecosystem is an ongoing balancing act. Park managers constantly work to preserve Yosemite's natural beauty while still allowing people to experience it. It's not an easy task, especially when so many people want to visit the same places. Yet despite the crowds, Yosemite still contains vast areas of wilderness. Most visitors never venture far beyond the main attractions. The majority remain within Yosemite Valley. Meanwhile, huge sections of the park receive relatively little traffic. Remote lakes, hidden meadows, high mountain passes, and quiet forests continue to provide a sense of isolation that is increasingly rare in the modern world. Perhaps that's one reason Yosemite continues to capture people's imagination. It offers something for almost everyone: geology, history, wildlife, adventure, photography, wilderness, and some of the most spectacular scenery on Earth. What began millions of years ago with rising mountains and ancient granite eventually became one of the world's most famous landscapes. Glaciers carved the valleys, rivers shaped the terrain, forests spread across the mountains, wildlife adapted to the changing environment, and people arrived, first as inhabitants, then explorers, then visitors from around the world. Today, Yosemite remains a place where natural forces are still at work. Cliffs continue to crack. Rockfalls continue to reshape the landscape. Rivers continue to flow, forests continue to grow, and every winter, snow once again accumulates across the Sierra Nevada, preparing to feed the waterfalls that millions of people travel to see. From the giant granite walls of El Capitan to the distinctive shape of Half Dome, from ancient giant sequoias to black bears roaming the forests, from disappearing waterfalls to mysterious missing person cases. Yosemite is far more than a national park. It is a landscape still being shaped by nature, a place where geological processes that began millions of years ago remain visible today, and a reminder of just how powerful, unpredictable, and extraordinary the natural world can be.